MIT now, and they are in Stanford. Super intelligent, but that's the kind of DNA pool that we have in Saratoga. And they basically jump-started the Neighborhood Watch program. They had a meeting at their home, and got the whole neighborhood together. They were out there dropping flyers. And basically, I think that's what it takes. It takes involvement from not only teenagers, but from leadership like Bob stepping up and taking charge. So Bob and a lot of people showed up at that particular neighborhood meeting, and the rest is history, because here we are celebrating a good neighborhood gathering. At 9 a.m. in the morning, I got up in the morning, I said, oh my God, block party, that's a great way to get it started. But I think when you look at the Neighborhood Watch program, essentially there was not a whole lot of activity in 2016. And that's when we actually had the meeting. It's probably the first 5 meetings that we had. I forget how many meetings. But, I met with Isha while we were walking. And she said, I'm so concerned. I read all the next door reports about break-ins. And I said, why don't we do a meeting, a neighborhood meeting? And so that's how it came together. And we identified neighborhood leaders. They actually took charge in breaking up the neighborhood into 19 zones. 19 zones. And when people came up to the meeting, they started taking leadership roles. They started becoming block captains and things like that. So that's really what it takes. What we have done is we have organized ourselves. And that's the phenomenal story that is playing out in every neighborhood of Saratoga. How many block parties, how many neighborhood watch programs do we have today? Anyone know? Give me a number, any number.
10.
10.
27.
27. 27 was the number back in 2016.
Oh.
In Saratoga, yes. So, well, let's put it this way. Like in 2016 summer when we started this, we probably had like 4 or 5 neighborhood watch programs. That's it. Very few. And the crime was going up. Like in that summer of 2016, I was watching. 1 week we had like 10 break-ins, 7 break-ins. So that was actually impacting residents. They were pretty alarmed about it. So, and then I would see so many signs all over Saratoga. Neighborhood watch sign, neighborhood watch sign. And I would ask people, what is the sign? And people would say, well, I've lived here for 3 decades. I don't know what the sign is. Because it was only a sign, there was no leadership. But that's really what we have done with 70 neighborhood watch programs now. 70 plus neighborhood watch programs that have come alive. And it has come alive on the foundation of strong neighborhood leaders like Kara, like Bob, who have stepped up, with Ray and Ray Muzzy and Donna Muzzy. People are taking charge, becoming block captains, and just communicating with the neighbors. It's all about communicating, connecting, and collaborating. So when we do that, phenomenal things happen in Saratoga. And that's really the story playing out. So how did crime drop? 2012, we had 59 break-ins, and every year it kept going up. Every year it kept going up. So if you go back the track record of Saratoga, the break-ins have been about 65 was the average from 2006 to 2012. But then it started to go up because of the impacts of Prop 47 and things like that. So should we just sit there and watch the crime go up? So we said, let's organize. So 2012, we had 59 break-ins. 2016, we ended the year with 130 break-ins. So every year it kept going up. It almost doubled in like few years, right? Now, the story of this was, once we organized, once we had the neighborhood watch programs, what was the number of break-ins in 2017? Anyone knows? Give me a number.
10.
50. I wish we can get 12 someday. next year, Jack, it's going to happen next year. Yeah. 50. Give me a number slightly higher than that. 75. So we ended the year with 69 break-ins. So that was, for all the math people here, 47% drop. That was a 47% drop in crime. And it is the biggest drop compared to any other city if you take out Los Altos Hills. They went from 40 break-ins down to 20 break-ins. So they had a 50% drop. But they are a much smaller city. They are about a population of 8,000, we are 30,000. So our drop is significant. Like if you look at Sunnyvale, Santa Clara, it went up by 10%, 15%. Everywhere else it went up, or it was a constant. Why did Saratoga drop crime by 47%? It was because of our neighbors. It was because of our neighbors. Because of leadership like Bob, stepping up, taking charge, informing the neighbors as to what's going on. Best practices such as putting cameras at your front door. Who has a camera at the front door? All right, look at that. Now, 2 years back when we started having these meetings, barely one hand would go up because this wasn't part of a best practice, right? Who is locking up your fence gates? All right, look at this. So 2 years back when I used to have these meetings, 5 hands would go up, right, in a neighborhood meeting, or 3 hands would go up. How many of you have a mailbox that is locked? Look at this, yeah. So that's really what has happened. That's really what has happened because earlier, 2 hands would go up. So I think the level of awareness is pretty incredible right now, you know. And in June of this summer, the call volume to the sheriff was the highest ever because people are calling our deputies. They're calling them, hey, come down and check this person out, right? That's really what it takes to make Saratoga safer. And this year, so here is one last question. This year, how many break-ins have we had so far? 69 was the number last year.
48.
48? Okay, looks like Donna and I are the only 2 people who read my emails. I send out this all this data. Ray, you got to read my email too. Ray, where is Ray? Right. So I think we are at about 48, and that's the unofficial number. Because what our sheriff, you know, how they calculate this number, they don't take into account the attempted burglaries. Now, if you look at the district attorney, they take into account the attempted burglaries as well. So their number is slightly higher always. Our number is slightly lower. That is the official city record. 48 is the number that I have calculated, but the official number might be slightly different. You know, and if you go to the City of Saratoga website, you will actually see the whole statistics in terms of how many car break-ins, how many robberies, how many home burglaries. All that data is out there in the City of Saratoga website. So thank you all for joining in. I'm very happy to be here, happy to answer any questions, but let's make Saratoga safer. Yes?
I just had a question about if, and maybe you don't have to share it now, but maybe, and maybe it's been in a newsletter, sorry. I used to be a teacher, now I feel like the worst student because I'm not reading everything. But my question is about getting organized to get those locked boxes. You know, I live in a neighborhood where people have been there for a long time and they don't feel the crime or the concern. So what recommendations would you have to kind of get that, like, from where to start finding the right person to build the structure or getting those mailboxes?
Sure. So the mailboxes, what we have really recommended is to actually go to like Orchard Supply, which went out of business, or go to Home Depot and pick up a mailbox that locks. And typically you can just do a swap. You can pull the one out and replace it. Now, if you have like 4 or 5 mailboxes in a row, then you got to collaborate with your neighbor so that it looks a little consistent. But other than that, it's not very complicated. If you have a mailbox by yourself, you can pretty much go online, pick up a mailbox. What I talk about these mailboxes is, it doesn't need to be like Fort Knox, because you know they actually drive on Soviet Road with crowbars and they break open mailboxes, which can be pretty sturdy. All we need to do is, we need to lock our mailbox. So if every mailbox is locked in Saratoga, then all the crime goes to Cupertino. Or somewhere else, right? We don't want it here in Saratoga. Let it go somewhere else. Because the whole objective of the deterrence, the crime should not happen in my neighborhood, not in this cul-de-sac, not in this neighborhood, and not in my city. That's the whole objective. Prop 47, we are getting signatures to roll back the impacts of Prop 47. We have gotten 300 signatures. It will go on the ballot in 2020. So we're going to roll back some of the impacts of Prop 47. But we can't sit on our hands waiting for that kind of stuff, right? We're going to take charge. And that's really what we have done in best practices, organizing, and things like that. I think when neighborhoods organize, it becomes so much of a community, and that's really what we are doing. You know, neighbors are connecting, communicating, collaborating, having parties like this. Every weekend I get invited to like 2 or 3 or 4 block parties. You see me, I've gained like 50 pounds already. So anyway, thank you all for joining in. I'm happy to answer any questions. Any questions? Or we can go to dig into the food there. You know, it looks pretty amazing.